Running commentary, album reviews. We are revisiting classic albums. We listen from start to finish. Madonna, Ray of Light. When Madonna burst back onto the scene in 1998 with the Ray of Light album, it was very, very well received. Her best-selling record and the best-selling record of that year worldwide. The reason for this was there was a new sort of sense of spiritual enlightenment from Madonna on this track, even using Indian chants and just a completely different production technique with William Orbit, who was a super producer at that time. It's an album that works very well with candles and incense and yoga, which is what Madonna was at that time peddling, was this sort of new age kind of spirituality, which people were very interested in getting into, particularly with the timing of it being at the end of a millennium. I think that that was very important in the marketing campaign for this record. Also, her look for this, these sort of very developed spirals, a beautiful sort of translucent makeup, this beautiful rich blue on the cover of the album, made this a really sumptuous affair, and people were keen to get back into Madonna, who, during a lot of the 90s, had been recording these sort of ballady kind of things, which were not really in keeping with who we knew her to be, which was the good time girl. We knew that she was very sort of business motivated. We knew that she was someone that liked control of her career. But there were a lot of these sort of ballads which, as fine as they were and created a lot of hits for her in the 90s, were not who we were used to as this sort of ever-evolving chameleon of an artist that Madonna is. The opening single for this was Frozen. And Frozen was accompanied by a video which is very, very memorable in its sort of depiction of birds flying out of a black shadow and things of that nature. A hypnotic style chant with this very classic rhythmic dub style of William Orbit, which really was the thing that made people sit up and listen to this album, was that it was just so different for her. This was a real change of direction. We didn't know who this person was. It was rediscovering an artist. Ray of Light really worked because of its ethereal sensibility. It's like she tapped into this sort of more sort of cosmic universe, and I think some of us may have found our spirituality with Ray of Light. I remember when I first heard it, and I was absolutely delighted because Kate Bush had made this up-tempo, dancey record. I was running around telling everyone, oh, Kate Bush has got this great new song. It's called Ray of Light. That's not Kate Bush. I'm like, well, who is it? It's Madonna. Here she is creeping up on you again through this sort of, you not recognizing her. She sort of, I don't know what you call that, but when something that you're familiar with comes almost like in a different disguise. And this is how Ray of Light arrived for us. A very popular track on the album, but not particularly popular with me, was the Nothing Really Matters song. Now, this is a huge song for a lot of people, particularly Clubland divas love this song. Don't you ever talk about Nothing Really Matters. It's not a bad song. The video and the dancing I thought was interesting with the sort of geisha girl kind of costume, but it wasn't my favorite thing. My favorite song on the album is The Power of Goodbye, which I just thought was an absolutely brilliant ballad. I think it's one of the best songs that she's ever recorded. You were my lesson I had to learn. I was your fortress. The lyrics on this are really just absolutely brilliant, and we have here something which I might well make her #1 song of all time. I really love The Power of Goodbye, and its place on this album with its sweeping strings is just a revelation of what she is capable of. Drowned World, Substitute for Love. I think she was being honest here. I really do think that she meant what she said on this song. You know, I traded fame for love without a second thought. How many of us are guilty of that? This song is just a very, very important lyrical song. It's an important sort of confession. With her, I just don't know how often her confessions seem genuine. But this seemed like a genuine confession of who she was, which I think was a rare thing. So I really like that song. Swim I don't remember it that much. It doesn't strike me as being anything special. It's just not as interesting to me. Candy Perfume Girl is interesting. It's very much, this is a William Orbit thing. I think this was more of a vibe than anything. I don't think anything's really achieved with the song, but I think it works in showcasing William Orbit's production skills. Skin is the song where the refrain is, "Do I know you from somewhere?" This is a kind of pulsating club piece. It works really well. I remember at the time that she said that people who like drugs will like this album, which I thought was an interesting thing. Sky Fits Heaven, I like it because of its title more than because of the content of the song. I mean, this whole feeling of there being more to life than us and what we want and our demands, sky being one, heaven being beyond, it sort of takes you out to that place just with its title. Shanti Ashtangi is an Indian language song, and people were thrilled with this song. It just works really well. It's authentic. It's believable. I love the chanting. I love the tablas. I really enjoyed this song, and I thought it was such a refreshing difference from her to include this song. I'd be interested to hear actually how people whose language she was borrowing there felt that she did. That would be my biggest interest there, is to find out what they felt about her working with their language, if you understand what I mean. To Have and Not to Hold is a sort of slower number from her. It doesn't really grab me. Little Star I Love. This is the song that was written for Madonna's daughter Lourdes. The love is in there. This is genuine. She's not kidding around with this. This is where Madonna really shines. It's why songs like Live to Tell work, is there's that believability factor. When she's contrived and sort of pulling the strings and being manipulative, it's just not a fun thing. But when she actually bears her soul, as she does on a song like Little Star, and the background to this is really, really important. It's like a junglist background, and it's a song for her daughter, and Lourdes should be especially happy with this. Mergo, again, it's that sort of water world of that and Swim. I think with Ray of Light, what was happening is they were trying to combine sort of the different sort of spiritual elements which would go together with astrology. So we're thinking fire, earth, water, and air are the elements which control the astrology. So maybe there was some of that going on there, because that does make sense to me. Madonna gives it her all in bringing it to the masses when she's inspired by something. Some people have, would describe that as being a rip-off merchant or being somebody that is derivative. But if I had to credit somebody with making yoga popular, it would be Madonna. She was one of the first people that I remember that really pushed this in a mainstream fashion. It's always interesting for me when people criticize people who bring things to the masses. I understand that there's a feeling that the people that originated it should be the one that bring it. But if that were the case, why does that juxtaposition not happen? And that's a different story in and of itself. She does get a lot of stick for being somebody that draws her ideas from other things rather than from herself. And I think sometimes that is what makes Madonna such a polarizing figure. I would rate overall the album Ray of Light 92%. What is on there that is good is just so good and so transformative, but the rest of the bad tracks or average tracks just kind of melt into insignificance because you've got 5 or 6 really, really strong songs, which in this day and age is an act of God. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, recommend it to friends, post comments. Also, if you have an album that you'd like to hear reviewed, we welcome your requests.